and welcome back to Realty Rides, you guys. So we have a special treat for you today. We're going to be reviewing and driving a 2006 Carrera 4S 997.1 variant around the roads here on Whidbey Island. But before that, I'm going to walk you around and kind of give you a little bit of a taste of what it's like to own and drive one of these cars. So this is the 2006 Carrera 4S 997.1. This, like any other Porsche, the body style hasn't really changed over the years. This happens to be the coupe. I think it's a beautiful car. We've owned this car now for about 4 years. Like I said in prior videos, I've owned 911s on and off since 1983 when I bought my first 1970 911T long hood car. This happens to be a water-cooled 911. It goes 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds. And top speed of about 180-ish miles per hour. This happens to be all-wheel drive. In the wintertime, it does snow here, although I've only driven the car in the snow just once because it's too nice. I don't want to get it damaged, and I don't want to get it really dirty, so, you know, but if I do need that capability, we have the four-wheel drive available for us. The interior is beautiful. It is really well designed. These happen to be the leather sports seats, so they have a lot of bolstering in them to keep you really planted. There's a 6-speed manual. It has a traditional steering wheel. A lot of these videos that I've seen on the 997, they upgrade them to the bigger, different wheel. Like the Macan has an adapter where you can take this wheel off and put a more modern wheel on. But I happen to like the way this wheel looks. The dashboard's it's got the old style with the gauge is right there on top, 6 gauges. It's got Alcantara sealing, and again, just like any other 911 coupe, you got the little seats in the back that are relatively functional. An adult can possibly sit in there if it's a small adult, but it has a lot of room for luggage and, you know, other things and small children. It's a very practical automobile. Like all 911s, the engine's in the rear, and of course the front here is what they call the front trunk. And most modern Porsches now, you know, even the 2023, the 2022 992s, they have a very similar front end. So as you can see, it can carry luggage, a little bag here in the front and the bottom, just a regular little duffel bag. There is the stereo. The battery is right underneath that Porsche panel right there, so it's really easily accessible. And right there, that blue is for the windshield wiper reservoir. And underneath here is a special panel where they have little tool kits and a tow bar in case you need it. To open up the front trunk and the rear engine lid, you have the front button here and the left button, the right button here on the bottom. That opens up the rear lid to expose the engine. This happens to be a 3.6 liter, and it's a water-cooled, horizontally opposed 6-cylinder engine. That's basically what the engine looks like. Not a lot to see. The older models had the beautiful fan and the more of the carburation showing, or the fuel injection showing, but these modern models, it's pretty benign. You have to really look underneath the car in order to see the engine itself. And the wheels are 19-inch in the front and 19-inch in the back. And on the front we have Brembo brakes. These are cross-drill rotors. Look at the rotors are about 12 inches. These are GT3 style rotors we put on this car. This right here opens up above 65 miles per hour. This is a wing that expands. You can also manually deploy it from a switch inside on the console if you want to have the additional assurance of downforce when you're driving on the freeway and along the highways. It's got a sunroof, of course. And if you look again, it has the similar body styles of almost every 911 that came out from way back in 1964. It's an iconic look. It's the most popular body style in the world. The 911 is just a proven automobile. Every model over the years, which I'll explain to you in a few minutes when we're driving this thing, has had its issues. and the 997 has, you know, things that you have to look out for. If you drive it and you make sure you have proper oil changes and you keep the maintenance up, all 911s, not just the 997 or the 996 or the 991 or the 992s, they're pretty much bulletproof cars. These cars have proven the test of time. Porsche has really known what to do with the engineering of this car, and every year they seem to improve and improve and improve. They get faster, they look cooler, they handle better. It's just an overall great automobile. So what's it like to drive? Well, let's take a look right now, and let's go for a little run around Whidbey Island. Okay, so what's it like driving a 997.1? Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, it's a great car. It's great, it's fast, it sounds nice, it looks beautiful, like I said. It's built really, really well. But, you know, not all of us can afford a GT3, not all of us can afford the higher end models, the GT2 RS, GT3 RS. But if you're in a budget for a car that's between $40,000 and $60,000, then the 997.1 and .2 would be the perfect vehicle for you, I would think. Unless, of course, you want to go into the older models. And yes, you know, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, that all 911s, starting back 1964, all of them had idiosyncrasies and issues with them. And that's not, you know, not to say that other cars, other manufacturers don't have their problems too. Of course they do. But right now, today, we're just talking about Porsche. So let's just go back a little bit. 1964, the 911 came out as the 901, then later on turned into the 911. And they were commonly known now as the long hoods. They have the sloped front hoods, no impact bumpers on them, and in the beginning they were a short wheelbase, then they later on in 1969 they became the long wheelbase cars. But they had problems too. The Weber carburetors leaked gas. They were hard to handle. They rusted a lot, especially in the battery boxes. And then later on, when the cars evolved, it went into the G body, which was 1974 through 1977, and those cars were an improvement over the long body, the long hoods rather, but they had their own issues with magnesium cases that got extremely hot, that would crack the head studs and they would break off. They also had cooling issues with, for some strange reason, they went from an 11-blade fan to a 5-blade fan to reduce the noise of the car. And as a result, it also lacked in cooling and created even more of a heat issue with those magnesium cases. And then 78 through 83, the 911 SC came out and went from 2.7 liters of from the 74 through 77, they were 2.4, and then it went to 3.0 liter in 78 through 83 with the 911 SC, and that was a vast improvement. The cars became much more sculpted. They had little flared fenders in the back. The engine was much more robust. It went from 172 to 200 horsepower, and didn't have the magnesium cases. This time the cases were aluminum, but they also had head stud issues. They also suffered from some rusting in certain areas of the body, and they had the 915 gearbox, which I have in my other 911 SC. It can be a little clunky, hard to shift sometimes, but overall the SC model from 78 to 83 was a vast improvement over the prior ones. Then in 84 to 89. Or 88 or 89, the 3.2 Carrera came out. Now the 3.2 Carrera was again a vast improvement over the 911 SC, but it also became a kind of a heavier car, and it had problems with leaking cabriolet tops. It had problems with the engine didn't seem to operate or run as nicely as the 3-liter SE engines. The SE seemed to be a little bit, tunable, whereas the 3.2 liter seemed a little bit more subdued, and people didn't like it as much. However, they had a lot of improvements. Later on in 1988, they went from the 915 gearbox to the G50 gearbox, which was a great improvement. Plus, they also went from a cable clutch to a hydraulic clutch. So the Carrera 3.2 liters actually were some of the nicer 911s, you know, as time went on. Then in 1990 through 1993, we had the, it could have been 94. 90 to 94, the 964 came out. And the 964, during that time period, Porsche was having some real bankruptcy, you know, quality issues. It wasn't making a lot of money. It was kind of deciding what they were going to do with the 911 platform. So when the 964 came out, they did some sculpting to the body. They put panels underneath the engines. The engines overheated. They also leaked oil all over the place. It was a very quiet car, heavier car than the 3.2 Carreras, and it just didn't have a strong following in the beginning, and later on they actually went down in price dramatically. But funny thing with the 964, they later on, years later, became the major platform for Singer Vehicle Design, which is a company that takes the 964, strips it down, and completely rebuilds it into a backdated Porsche, a long hood Porsche of their design style. Those cars are immaculate. If you don't know what a Singer is, look up Singer.com and you'll see what kind of work that Rob Dickinson does down in Los Angeles. He does incredibly beautiful work. He completely takes the shell of the older 1990s 964 and transforms it into a backdated 911. And it's beautiful, fantastic, with carbon fiber, exotic leathers, completely rebuild motor and re-engineered motor. Just fantastic. You've got to check out Singer.com. So 964, then after that came with the 993, which then totally changed the G-body style to a more streamlined, kind of the body style that the later models have, like for example this 997. And the 993 went from 95, I believe, to 97, and then, or actually 98, it might have been 97, 98, I don't recall. I'll have to put it on top here for you to look at. But in any event, the 993 was considered one of the better 911s. Very reliable, beautiful to look at, very, you know, very comfortable, sporty. Yeah, the 993 was a beautiful car, fantastic, handled well, looked great. And then from that point on, that was the last of the air-cooled cars, and then of course later on it went into the water-cooled cars, starting off with the 996. 996, the early ones, the 1998, 99 models, had those fried egg headlights that everybody really hated. And it also had a completely different dash. It shared the same interior components in the dash with the Boxster, which was like essentially the entry-level car, and that just drove everybody insane. And it also had the now, you know, much spoken about but not very common IMS issues and the bore scoring. But again, you know, all 911s had issues, and the best thing I can tell you is that when you're in the market for one of these cars, try to find the best car that your budget can allow, and make sure you do compression checks, do a complete PPI pre-purchase inspection, check for bore scoring, check for IMS issues, make sure the IMS bearing was done if you're going to buy a car of that year, of those years. And then you know, buy the car with the best possible mechanical maintenance background that you can find. So I hope you found this video entertaining and informative. You know, this is information just to the best of my own knowledge. I mean, I try to do the research and try to give you guys the best information possible. But again, if you're going to buy a Porsche of any year, vintage, variant, do the best job you can in terms of doing your due diligence and finding the best car that you can afford. Make sure you get all the proper maintenance checks, PPIs, compression checks, bore scoring, IMS, all that stuff, etc. So again, thanks for watching Realty Rides, you guys. I really appreciate your support over the last few months. I will continue to do car-related and motorcycle-related content. And don't forget to subscribe, comment, like. I'm trying to grow this channel to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Right now, we're almost at 200. And it's all because of you guys. So I appreciate it very much. Have a great day. Be safe. And I'll see you guys on the next ride. Thanks again for watching Realty Rides.